let's move up to Netzarim here and follow the corridor. The Americans, their pier, as I reported last week, floated to shore in Israel. They're working to put it back together apparently, and bring it back. No word on its completion of putting it back together. It shouldn't take that long, but yeah, unless they change something about the way the pier is anchored, it's just going to float away again. It's possible that when it floats away again, that the U.S. Army won't try to rescue it with their ships and get all their ships beached as well, which was an unfortunate look for their army. But let's look at number 5 tomorrow, because this is an operation that 𝐓𝐡𝐞 pulled off with their Air Force Gaza City Squadron, as I'm calling it. This is a drone operation over a group of Israeli soldiers southwest of Gaza City. So this is right down by the pier. This is right in the area. You can see they put 7 triangles there. I think if you count it different, there's 2 shots of this, and it looks like there's between 8 and 10 at any given moment there. You can see 2 Humvees beside, and they drop a 𝐓𝐡𝐞 made M26 grenade. This is a grenade that's manufactured as essentially a clone of the popular American grenades, and they have the soldiers are all lying down here. So this is one reason why you don't see them scramble. In previous drone drop munitions, we've seen the soldiers run away from these. But if you look closely, you can see they're all lying down here. And the grenade does look like it gets caught in the wind as it goes by the building and moves it a few meters away from where the intended target likely was. But just to give you a sense of these M26 grenades, they send out, according to American military testing, they send out 750 slivered fragments to 10 meters. They have a lethal radius of 15 meters and are dangerous within 25 meters. So all within range of what we're seeing there. And as I've told you a number of times on these programs, the hand grenade program is the oldest weapons program of the 𝐓𝐡𝐞 brigades, of the Palestinians. They've made hundreds of thousands of them over the years. They said they had made 200,000 by the latter years of the Second Intifada. And they started building these grenades under Adnan al-Ghul and Yahya Ayash in the mid-1990s. So it was the first weapon that they built, and they built it for the reason because it gets weapons in the hands of fighters when they don't have guns. They didn't have enough guns at that time, and so hand grenades got weapons in the hands of fighters. So we'll just look here and see if we think that this is within 10 meters. If it's within 10 meters, the guys on the outside of this who are lying down would be hit with shrapnel. So there was some talk on the interwebs about how it was a miss. But I think that misunderstands the way shrapnel and fragmentation grenades work. As they say, close only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades, and this is a hand grenade, so close counts. And this wasn't just 𝐓𝐡𝐞, this was a 𝐓𝐡𝐞 operation, but along the corridor all week, there was a lot of operations carried out by all the different groups. So if we go to number 6 here tomorrow, we can see the Joint Operations Room. This is the DFLP, the communists working here with the Islamic Jihad 𝐓𝐴 𝐈𝐧𝐭𝐫𝐶 fighters. Here they're wiring up a 107 millimeter rocket artillery, and these are them screwing on the fuses, getting them all ready. The 2 groups working together as they always do. So they're attaching the fuses, and then this is a Gaza-built rocket. This is a homemade Gaza-built rocket. You can see them attaching the fins, the stabilizers, and you can see the wiring in there. That's what they're always checking with that multimeter. They're checking the fidelity of the wires to make sure that it works as part of the preparation. And this is an S5 rocket. This is the rocket that Hezbollah fired from their drone that I covered. I think it was last week. It might have been 2 weeks ago. But this is an air-to-ground missile that is usually put on not missile, put on a helicopter and fired from helicopters. But the Palestinians have repurposed them and used them and fired them from ground base. 𝐓𝐡𝐞 did that dating back to the cast lead operation was the first time we saw these rockets be used. So they're a 55 millimeter rocket that are usually fired from a helicopter, but that are fired from the ground here. And you can see 𝐄𝐥𝐞𝐿 Islamic Jihad working with the National Resistance Brigades of the DFLP. And these fighters, we've seen videos like this all through the war. And like I've said, I don't bring very many of these videos because you just see them screwing in things, and then often you just see the rocket going off into the air. And there's been so many videos that we don't show all these videos, but this is what we see all through the war. These groups working together. That's putting the fuse on that rocket as well. So they're attaching the fuse to make the weapons potent from the storing stage. And then we go to number 7. You can see them fire these rockets. And so these are being fired. This is the National Resistance Brigades, Omar Qasem Brigades, firing at Netzarim. So they're firing at there's 3 positions that I showed you last week on the base. That's the sign that says what they're literally doing, firing on Netzarim. And I showed you last week that there's 3 military positions along the Netzarim corridor, and you can see the fighters now in the field reports starting to talk about how they're hitting those spots, that they're not just firing at the corridor. They're firing at now the Israeli makeshift positions, the bases that they're attempting to put in the corridor. And if we just do number 8 really smoothly here, we go to Qassam firing their 114 millimeter Rajum missiles that we have also dug deep into. They're a multiple rocket launcher built by the Qassam brigades of their own. It's their own. It's not a clone of another weapon. They made the size and the type of weapon themselves. They're similar to the 107 millimeter rocket artillery that we've seen, but that is something that is built by the Qassam brigades. So that's in Netzarim corridor. So there's fighting still going on in Netzarim corridor. Of course, the Israelis seem like they intend to stay in the corridor. They created a corridor on the Philadelphia corridor in Rafah. They have the Netzarim corridor. They attempted in Jabalia to push a corridor into Jabalia. And this looks like it's shaping up to be the way the Israelis are going to fight the war come in the months ahead. Should the war continue, is to set up these corridors and then raid from the corridors as they're doing. And because they can travel up and down the corridor, it makes it more difficult to see the moment that they're going to raid. It makes it difficult for people to know where they're coming from. Whereas when they come from across the border or from the buffer zones, it's easier to see them coming. And so that's one of the reasons why they want the corridor and raid strategy, which is actually a plan, as I've said, is a plan from Ariel Sharon going back to the 1960s and 1970s, the 5-finger plan, which would cut the Gaza Strip in 5 fingers and create manageable zones inside each of those areas, so you can control the population in a more confined area. So like making mini Gazas out of the larger Gaza, making miniature ghettos like they did all over the West Bank, which essentially is a corridor and raid strategy that they use in the West Bank as well, using the roads, the apartheid roads, the roads that only they can travel on, only the Israelis can travel on, and using those roads to attack Palestinian positions. So that's Netzarim corridor.
Thanks for watching this video. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, hit like, leave a comment. These engagements help us with the YouTube algorithm, and it helps us to get around Silicon Valley censorship as much as possible. It does make a difference. You can also support our journalism by going to electronicintifada.net and clicking on donate now. Thank you.